All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. We got a 2011 GMC Yukon with a 5.3. This video is going to be how to diagnose if you have an alternator issue or a battery issue. So this truck has a slow crank. We're up in New England, so one dead giveaway that starts pointing towards a battery is when you have that first cold snap. That's usually when the batteries fail, you get a dead cell. And it'll be hard to crank every day after that. So we did have that a few days ago, and since then it's been hard to crank. But just to show you what I do, just to make sure so you're not just replacing parts to replace parts. So the first thing I do is take this cap off, the boot off the positive cable. Get your meter if you have one. You can buy a cheap Harbor Freight meter to do something like this. It's gonna work just fine. So you hook up your ground, hook up your positive. I have it on the dash, so as I'm cranking, you can see what I see. So as you can see, with just I just opened the door to the truck and the voltage is going down. It's about 12.2, which isn't really giving you a huge indicator that you have an issue. But what you'll see is as you crank it, you're gonna see it dip down to about 9 volts. That's too low. And then the other thing you're going to see when it fires up is it go over 13.5 volts. I think it'll probably hit 14 volts. That's telling you that the alternator is charging. So I'm going to crank it now. You'll see it dip and you'll see it come back up. Yeah, see it went down to almost 8 volts. I think it was like 8.5. I'd have to play this video slow. Slow playback just to see what it dipped down to, but I did see an 8, and if you look at it right now, it's what, 14.6, 14.7. So that's about all the information you need to know that the battery in this truck's bad. If the alternator was bad and I tried cranking it over and over again, you'll get to the point where it will not crank over. You'd have to put a jump box on it, and then the car would be running off the jump box. It's just a quick, dirty way to know that you need to replace your battery and that you don't have an alternator problem. So next step is yanking this battery out of here. All right, so specific to these GM trucks, the first thing I'm going to do is take this bracket off, take out these 4 bolts, get some room to gain some access to that battery. All right, we got that bracket off. They were held down with the 4 13mm bolts. Put the bracket off to the side. As you can see, we got a ton of room now to work with this battery. Next step is to loosen up the nuts on the posts. Those are 10mm. You don't have to take them all the way off. You just got to loosen them up. And you want to take the positive cable off first. Leave the ground on. You always want to leave the ground on to avoid any shorts. And then in reverse, you want the ground to go on first, then the positive cable. After I get those cables out of the way, I don't know if you can see that, but the hold down is also a 10mm nut. I'll remove that and take the plastic wedge out of there, and that'll free up this battery to come out, and we'll go get a new one. All right, so I got the battery out, and just quickly, I had it backwards. The bolt you want to take off is not on the fender side, it's on the engine side. It's this guy right here. And when you get it out, you'll see it's like a plastic wedge. So as you tighten this thing down, it forces the battery into this holder right here, this metal bracket, so that it can't move around. I just wanted to clarify that. Not to take off the one on the fender side, but the one on the engine side. One thing I like to do is look down the sides of the batteries, see if you can see any bulging. It's another clear indicator. And then the other thing I noticed is the manufacture date, 12/17. So this was probably bought right in the beginning of 18. It's over 5 years old, so it's time anyway. Rule of thumb is every 5 years to replace your batteries. So we got our money's worth out of this one. So when deciding what battery to get, I don't like to get the cheapest one, but I used to only get Interstates. But to be honest with you, like everything else, everything's junk now. So most likely I'm either going to still go with the Interstate, but I'm not opposed to getting the top end of the O'Reilly's battery. All right, so I got the new battery in. I ended up going with AGM from O'Reilly's. I have a commercial account, so I actually saved $50. So from the Interstate battery to this one, it was about $100 less. It's an AGM, same 3-year warranty. And the big reason why I really went with O'Reilly's is it's Sunday and Interstate's not open. So full disclosure there, I probably still would have went with the Interstate, but So one thing I like to do before I put the terminals on is put some antioxidant joint compound in between the terminals. I used to use grease, but grease is actually really not conductive. I've always had good luck. The terminals didn't corrode and the battery worked, but just over the years, realizing you want to use this stuff right here. It's made for electrical connections. It won't allow it to corrode, and it's conductive. So get the leads hooked up, and we'll see if it drops down to 8 volts when we crank it over. All right, so we got a little under 12.5 volts. It's still going down because all the interior lights are on, the door's open. So we'll see what we get here. Now you can see it only went down to, I don't know, 11.5 volts, fired right up. I did have them load test the old battery and it was dead, so it does have a dead cell in it. But we got our money's worth, like I said, 6-7 years out of it. If I can get another 6-7 years out of this whole truck, I'll be happy. So I'm thinking this battery's probably gonna outlive the truck at this point. It's got 250,000 miles, but we'll see. So that's a wrap. Hope this video helped you. Please think about liking and subscribing if it was helpful. And I'll see you in the next one.